The Convention on Biological Diversity defines biotechnology as any technological application that uses biological systems, living organisms or derivatives thereof to make or modify products for specific uses. This includes not just medical and industrial applications, but tools as well as techniques that are commonplace in agriculture and food production. Thanks for joining us on this fresh episode of AgriBiotech, a program on biotechnology and its significance to agricultural development in Nigeria. I am Lara Afolayan. The importance of biotechnology to Nigeria's quest to achieving food security forms the thrust of the program today. President of the Biotechnology Society of Nigeria, Professor Benjamin Ubi, shall be bio-chatting with us on how this technology could help Nigeria better grow its farming output and cut down on food imports. On the In Focus segment, we shall of course be taking a detailed look at the thrust of the program for today, which is the place of biotechnology in the Nigerian agricultural sector. This is not also forgetting emails from viewers out there, which we shall be responding to in the course of the program. But at this point, we get to see recent happenings around the world on biotechnology and agriculture.
A team of scientists from the Chinese Academy of Sciences and Purdue University has used CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology to develop a variety of rice that produces 25 to 31% more grain. Reports say this would have been virtually impossible to create through traditional breeding methods. The team made mutations to 13 genes associated with a phytohormonic abscisic acid, known to play roles in plant stress tolerance and suppression of growth. The several varieties created includes one that produces a plant with little change in stress tolerance, but produced 25% more grain in a field test in Shanghai, China, and 31% more in a field test conducted on China's Hainan Island. The European Food Safety Authority says it finds no reason for concern over glyphosate residues in livestock feed. The authority, in a risk assessment report on a review of the maximum residue levels of glyphosate, says it reduces in feed and not expected to have major, if any, impact on livestock health. The EU risk assessor said it evaluated all available information on the presence of glyphosate in feed, including imported feed, to reach its conclusion. A cross-section of scientists around the world say genetically engineered food is good for farmers, the environment and communities. For farmers, they say even though the benefits vary from crop to crop, it helps them grow better food, gives protection from pests and diseases, and allow them use fewer resources for enhanced productivity. For the environment, they say since it reduces chemical use, the overall impact on the environment is positive. They add that the communities also benefit from these types of food because it increases their nutritional value.
Modern agricultural biotechnology involves a range of tools used by scientists to modify the genetic makeup of organisms in the production or processing of agricultural products. It is being used to fix problems in all facets of agricultural production and processing. This involves plant breeding to stabilize yields, improve resistance to pests, diseases, and abiotic stress, such as drought and cold. It is also used to enrich the nutritional content of food. Biotechnology can also be employed for speeding up breeding programs for plants and livestock. It could as well be used in animal feeds and feeding practices to improve livestock nutrition and reduce environmental waste. Scientists say even though conventional breeding, which relies on classic genetic principles, has been successful in introducing desirable traits into crop cultivars or livestock, biotechnology can make the application of conventional breeding methods more efficient. Farmers and pastoralists have worked on the genetic makeup of plants and animals since the beginning of agriculture. The alteration of natural variations in biological organisms has produced crops, trees, and even livestock that differ from their ancestral times. The motive of modern-day plant breeders is not different from that of early breeders in producing improved crops.
We know what biotechnology is doing in other places. Other nations that have embraced biotechnology are already reaping huge dividends. So we would want to get the attention of our government to focus in that area and ensure good funding for biotechnology in Nigeria.
Agricultural biotechnology is a set of tools and disciplines aimed at modifying organisms for particular objectives. This could include working to get better yields for food crops or building in them a natural resistance to certain diseases.
The yield is better, they mature faster. These are things we have kept away from the Nigerian farmer. The Nigerian farmer didn't know this existed. And these are basic technologies that even countries like Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Ghana are using very well. So what is wrong with us in Nigeria? Why are we behind? You see, this business of biotechnology has huge potential. We are not even scratching the surface yet. We could actually produce 1 million jobs. We could produce 1 million jobs. Latin America and Asia started an agric revolution some 20-25 years ago. Today, they are net exporters of food. You know, we started as well, but we are nowhere.
Agricultural biotechnology allows farmers select the genes to be put into an organism. Through genetic modification, scientists can create crops that produce more than their unmodified counterparts, and also through this means increase a crop's nutritional value. In the Golden Rice Project, for example, scientists employed the use of genetic engineering to produce rice that is enriched with vitamin A. Agricultural biotechnology also helps plants grow in a wider range of environments. This is because some plants only develop in particular climates or soil conditions. Scientists can, through genetic engineering, allow such plants grow in climates that would ordinarily have been too tough for them. Lands that were not ideal for certain types of crops can also be used to farm them through the process of biotechnology.
We cannot rely on agriculture that my great-grandfather did. It's not going to fit Nigeria.
There are some adopters of innovations. Some people will be faster than others. Some people are naturally laggards. Let us not condemn biotech.
So I see biotechnology transforming particularly agriculture in Africa, building up employment, creating wealth, and lifting African poor farmers out of their poverty to a land of plenty and good livelihood.
Another application of biotechnology in plant breeding could make them more resistant to diseases, pests, and chemicals. The genes infused into these crops can help them develop a defense to infestations that would ordinarily destroy a plantation. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, agricultural biotechnology provides farmers with tools for cheaper and better managed food production. An even more advanced form of this technology can help provide consumers with foods that contain lower toxicants. It could also be used to reduce saturated fats in cooking oils, cut down on allergens in foods while increasing their disease-fighting nutrients. The Biotechnology Society of Nigeria was established to promote cooperation on biotechnological advancements in Nigeria. This includes promoting discussions in all areas of biotechnology development with research institutes, universities, government agencies, industries, and other related organizations. This society has been in the forefront of promoting biotechnology for agriculture in Nigeria. The society's president, Professor Benjamin Ubi, will be chatting with me in a bit on the relevance of this technology to Nigeria's food production needs. Now, what is the society's take on the use of genetic modification for food production in Nigeria?
Genetic modification or genetic engineering, if we use the word, is sometimes modern biotechnology is synonymously used with genetic engineering. It's an aspect of biotechnology, but not all of biotechnology involves genetic engineering. So it's an innovative way of what we call the directed modification of plants. So that, you see, when we talk about genetic engineering, I know the aspect is being viewed as being controversial. It shouldn't have been the case, because it is just a technique that is being used to advance the course of developing superior varieties of crops. But there is so much skepticism among the members of the public, maybe because of the information they get from people, which may not actually be scientifically valid. So we don't use genetic engineering every time. As a matter of fact, it is when we have an intractable problem. For instance, situations where we cannot solve those problems by conventional breeding, that we can go a step ahead to employ the tools of genetic engineering to solve the problem. Take the case of Maruca in cowpea, for instance. So of all the accessions of cowpea that have been tested to see whether they are tolerant to Maruca, none was found. It was recently that the BT gene was introduced into cowpea to make it resistant to Maruca. Maruca is a very serious pest. In fact, you can have zero crop yield. That means that 100% yield loss when you have Maruca infestation on cowpea. But with BT cowpea, the crop will become resistant to cowpea, and you don't need to keep spraying insecticides. So it also reduces the burden of agrochemical spray when farmers try to control this pest on the field. So genetic engineering is an aspect of biotechnology, or what we call modern biotechnology, that has helped a lot to advance agriculture. And of course, sometimes because we talk of genetic engineering, it's not only about agriculture. Genetic engineering also applied in other areas of agriculture. As you can know, we have medical biotechnology, we have environmental biotechnology, we have industrial biotechnology, and then food and agricultural biotechnology. It may surprise you to know that insulin that is commonly used for treatment of diabetic patients is a product of genetic engineering. And people have come to terms with it. Nobody complains about it because they have seen the benefits. So when eventually people appreciate and see the benefits, whatever that is perceived as this or that about genetic engineering, it will just win, because you will see the benefits of the technology, and then in advancing the cause of not only agriculture, but medicine, environment, and then of course, when you have engineered microorganisms that can carry out specific functions.
Now, why does Nigeria need this technology for food production?
Yes, because Nigeria cannot be left behind, and we have to find innovative means of achieving food and nutrition security. And you can see the population of Nigeria is increasing, and it's being projected that by the year 2050, the Nigerian population will have gone up to about 430 million people. And we are operating that under very harsh environment. Like now, we are globally talking about climate change. And even though in Nigeria we've not really quantified that, but it's having a great toll on the environment. Most of the products that come from Nigeria are said to be laden with agrochemicals, and so they cannot even pass for export. So we have to try to reduce the agrochemical burden on our products, the crops themselves, and the human beings that consume them, by reducing the number of insecticides sprayed. Even the farmers that spray, they also get some form of pollution as a result of that. So we need to try as much as possible to use varieties that can reduce the burden of having to spray agrochemicals every time. Like when you use BT cotton, for instance. Under normal circumstances, you're required to spray cotton up to 7 times to get yield, substantial yield. But with BT cotton, for instance, you will just have 1 or 2 insecticidal sprays, and the cotton bollworm is completely reduced. So you can have your full yield without recourse to several insecticidal sprays on the crop.
Okay, now what are the proven examples of countries that have used this technology, to solve their food security challenges?
I cannot tell you specifically, but if you take America, for instance, there are crops in the records of countries that have adopted some GMOs, like maybe canola, that's oilseed rape, canola, and things like papaya, and which has been the Hawaii papaya, which was infested by a particular virus, infected with a particular virus, but now the problem has been solved using the genetic engineering. There was no other way they could solve that problem except for genetic engineering. So some of those crops, and some African countries recently have tried to adopt the technology, but even though, of course, there are also the naysayers. That is why in Nigeria, you see, we have competent authority like the National Biosafety Management Agency, that is actually the competent authority in Nigeria. So once we rely on them, and then their main goal is to ensure the safety of Nigerians by regulating what comes into Nigeria. And even without them, we wouldn't even know that GMOs are present in Nigeria. But with their oversight function, they've been able to go to shops and see that some GMOs are actually there, and therefore they can regulate and then competently. It may also please you to know that Nigeria has a biosafety law, and this biosafety law kind of sets out the rules that needs to be applied in the introduction of GMOs.
Okay, there are concerns about the safety, of these types of crops, for both humans and even animal feeds. I don't know what the society's take is on this particular issue.
We have met on a number of times on this, even with the Nigerian Academy of Science. But what I wish you to know is that GMOs would rather be of more benefit than people say, because up till now there are no concrete scientific evidence to say that GMOs are really hazardous or toxic.
How will you react to critics of this technology and what they've been saying so far?
Of course, they are free, both those on that side and that side. We are not here to preach, but the benefits, when they are seen, will make people to make up their minds where to follow. Critics, of course, we need people need to be aware, and people need to have their opinions. But it's better if they have their opinions based on informed decisions, based on evidence, based on science, and not just based on the what I may say, myths that do not hold. We are all Nigerians and patriotic, so we expect that everyone is for the good of Nigeria. Therefore, we need Nigerians to, on their own, and they make up their mind and then adopt. Even if you say no, nobody is against you for saying no. If you say yes, nobody is against you for saying yes. But at the end of the day, we need informed decision, opinion on why this is so. Because eventually, when the benefits, or when we domesticate this technology in Nigeria, and then the benefits are seen, then even the naysayers will seize their opinion based on myths and not based on scientific evidence.
Your final message on this technology, maybe to the Nigerian government, for example?
Well, the genetically modified organism is an integral part of crop improvement. And we may either need to innovate or we don't. But it's important that Nigerian government should adopt any means that can help to improve the welfare of Nigerians. And this welfare of Nigerians, we're talking in the area of health, in the area of food and agriculture, in the area of environment, and of course, industrially. You may hear recently ExxonMobil, they had genetically modified algae that was able to more than double the oil yield and then biodiesel production in the US. And all these things are needed. So all aspects of science and innovation should be employed to tackle problems of Nigeria, so that Nigerians do not need to go to bed hungry, and Nigerians should have food that are rich nutritionally, and then Nigerians should have industrial development, and there should be a way for upgrading or upscaling science and technology in Nigeria.
Very well said. And thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
And I've been speaking with Professor Ben Ubi. He is the president of the Biotechnology Society of Nigeria, and he has been speaking on why Nigeria needs the GM technology for agriculture. The program continues shortly. Stay with us. Thank you, dear viewers, for the emails you have continued to send. I begin with this email from Eugene Amanchi, who wrote in from Jos, North Central Nigeria. He says he watched the program and is interested in GM seeds. Eugene is particularly interested in getting GM seeds for soybeans, Irish potatoes, tomatoes, and other vegetables. Thank you for your inquiries, Eugene, but the seeds are not in circulation yet. Let's see what the Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology OFAB has to say in response to your mail. Eugene. Festus Onwe Johnson also sent in an email. He says he watched last week's episode, and as a farmer, he's asking how he could become part of AgriBiotech. Festus, I guess you meant you want to be part of the process of using biotechnology for agriculture. The Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology OFAB Nigeria once again as a response to that email from Festus. That will be all from the feedback segment as we say goodbye on the program for today. You earlier watched the Biotechnology Society of Nigeria speak on why Nigeria should utilize biotechnology in meeting its food needs. What do you also think? Send us emails on your opinions and comments and even questions about the use of biotechnology for farming in Nigeria, and we will provide answers to them. The email hasn't changed. It still remains agribiotech1@yahoo.com. You could alternatively send us a tweet at agribiotech13 or comment on our Facebook page, AgriBiotech on TVC. I am Lara Afolayo. Let's do this again, same time next week.